Let's talk about India's biggest tax overhaul in over 60 years. After decades of changes and just layers of complexity, the country has a completely rewritten income tax law. We're here to break down exactly what that all means for you.
Okay, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the problem, why the old law was just not working anymore. Then we'll get into the solution, the 2025 Act. We'll even learn some of the new lingo, see how it directly impacts you, and check out its vision for a digital-first future. And of course, we'll wrap up with the key takeaways.
All right, first things first, why was this massive change even necessary? Well, it all goes back to the old law, the Income Tax Act of 1961, and the incredible, almost unbelievable complexity it had gathered over the years.
Just let that number sink in for a moment. 4,000. Over 60 years, the 1961 Act was amended over 4,000 times. I mean, with every single budget, every new bill, the law just got longer and more tangled. It became a real maze for anyone trying to navigate it.
This slide really lays it all out, doesn't it? It's like a before and after for the tax law. We're moving away from this complicated, fragmented system that used old-fashioned language and honestly just invited legal battles. The goal now? Something simplified, streamlined, written in plain English, and just designed for clarity from the get-go.
So the solution wasn't just another patch or a quick fix. No, this was a complete top-to-bottom rewrite, the new Income Tax Act 2025. And this new law officially took over, coming into full effect on April 1st, 2026.
The government was super clear about its goals here. This wasn't about changing how much tax you pay. The principles were pretty straightforward. First, simplify the language and the structure. Second, don't mess with major policies to keep things stable. And third, keep the tax rates the same. The real focus was on completely overhauling the experience of paying taxes, not the amount you pay.
Okay, now let's get into the language of this new law. Like with any new system, you've got to learn the lingo, right? And the 2025 Act introduces some really crucial changes that are all about making our lives simpler.
All right, this one is huge. Honestly, it's probably the single most important change to wrap your head around. Gone are the days of trying to remember the difference between financial year and assessment year. The new law gives us one simple, unified term, the tax year. It's just the 12-month period that starts on April 1st. That's it. Simple.
And just like that, poof, the confusion is gone. This one change does more to simplify how we all think about taxes than pretty much anything else in the new law. It's a game changer.
I love this quote because it just nails the scale of what happened here. This wasn't redecorating a room. It was tearing down the old house and building a new one. Think of it like a city renaming every single street all at once. Every rule, every section now has a new and hopefully more logical place to live.
And here's a perfect example of what that looks like in practice. Let's take TDS, or tax deducted at source. In the old law, the rules for TDS were scattered all over the place, making it a nightmare to track. Now, they've all been gathered up and put neatly into one place, Section 393. So much easier.
Okay, let's get to the part I'm sure you've been waiting for. We've talked about the big picture, the theory, but how does this new act actually change things for you, the individual taxpayer, when you're getting ready to file? First up, deadlines. For all you salaried folks out there, good news, nothing changes. Your deadline is still July 31st. But for my self-employed friends and others whose accounts don't need an audit, you get a little breathing room. You now have an extra month, with a new deadline pushed to August 31st.
And that's not all. The new act also brings in some really welcome updates to common allowances. For one, the eligibility for a higher house rent allowance, or HRA, now includes major cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Pune, and Ahmedabad. Plus, the exemptions for things like meal benefits have been raised, the limit on tax-free gifts has gone up, and key children's allowances have also increased if you stick with the old tax regime.
So, beyond the changes that affect you and me directly, this 2025 Act is really about something bigger. It's about setting the stage for a fully digital tax future. It's about more than just e-filing. It's about reimagining the entire tax process. And this is a really powerful part of the new law. It basically gives the government the green light to create systems that cut out the direct, face-to-face stuff between you and the tax authorities. This is what paves the way for things like faceless assessments, aiming for a more efficient and transparent system for everyone.
And get this, For the very first time, the tax law is actually catching up to the 21st century. It now officially defines a virtual digital space, which includes everything from cloud servers to your social media accounts. And it broadens the definition of virtual digital assets to clearly cover things like cryptocurrencies. Pretty big step, right?
When you put it all together, from the simpler language to these new digital rules, what you're seeing is a massive push to modernize how taxes are managed in India. It's all geared towards making the whole system more streamlined and, well, less of a headache for everyone.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's boil it all down. What are the absolute key things you need to remember about this new Income Tax Act?
Here's the cheat sheet. First, it's a total fresh start. That complicated old law from 1961 is history. Second, remember tax year. It's the only term you need now. Third, if you're self-employed, check your calendar for that new August deadline. And finally, just know that this whole thing is built for a digital-first future.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The new law is, without a doubt, simpler on paper. But will that legislative simplicity actually translate into a truly simpler, more transparent, and more trust-based tax culture for India? Well, I guess only time will tell.